From henceforth, call me Director Tones. A couple videos ago, I talked about Dehancer Film, which is a film emulation plugin for your digital photos. Now hear me out. What if I told you that Dehancer also has a video plugin for your MLE of choice, allowing you to add film emulations to your video, making you look like a professional, but the best part of it all is that it's extremely easy. Let's get into the computer and show you how I color graded this short film. Now, before we get to editing, there's three things that you want to ensure. Number one, you want to shoot in log. Log is like a raw file for video. It isn't actually raw, but it's the closest thing that you have to raw in video form, and it allows you to get the maximum dynamic range from your video file. So, once again, shoot in log. Number two, just as we did in Dehancer Film, the very first time that you install the plugin, you want to go to the bottom and click Update the Profiles, so that you can get all the film emulations into your software, because the first time you use it, you might not see any film emulations there. Number three, I'm going to be showing you this plugin for DaVinci Resolve. You might use a different editing software, so make sure that you consult the manual that comes with the program so that you know how to best use this plugin with your video editing software of choice. Now, let's get into editing. I have DaVinci Resolve 18 open now, and I've imported two clips that we're going to be working on today. So let's start off by going into the color tab and talk about nodes. In Photoshop, you can create separate layers to work on different aspects of your photos and combine those layers together in the end to create a final product. In DaVinci Resolve, you're also able to create layers, but instead of them being called layers, we call them nodes. So we're going to create a node by starting off by going to right-click on the first node that appears. You're going to go to Add Node, and you're going to add a serial node. As per good editing practice in DaVinci Resolve and also advised by Dehancer Pro, what you want to do is make the final Dehancer Pro adjustments on the last node. So any types of color correction, contrast, saturation, and highlight adjustments that you want to make it in your primary node, and then you add the Dehancer look afterwards. That is how you're going to get the best image out of your picture. So let's get right into it and see what it looks like. Now, in order to open up Dehancer, what you want to do is to go to the Effects tab, and then we're going to scroll to the bottom where you see Dehancer Pro over here. So I'm going to take that and throw it on top of my final node. Now, we know that the image does not look great right now, but don't worry, we'll get there. So, scrolling up to the plugin, the first thing you want to do is to ensure that you do your log conversion, right? We talked about shooting in log first. This was a log file, which is why it looks all grainy and desaturated. But we're now going to do that conversion from a log to a Rec 709 file and then add our adjustments to it. So once again, taking that, putting it on the final node, we want to identify what kind of camera that this log footage came from. So you're going to go to Source. I'm selecting Choose Camera, Vendor. I shot this on the Sony A7 IV. Camera, Sony A7 IV right there. And then Format, I shot this in S-Log3, so I'm going to select that. As you can see, it's extremely bright right now, but don't worry, we're going to make further adjustments to it. So that is the first step you want to take care of. Obviously here you've got different exposure dials that you can play around with to get the look that you're looking for, but I prefer not to use those. I prefer to make those adjustments to the first node, which we will do in just a second. Now, most of the time when you start off, the first thing that I want to do is to turn off film grain. Film grain is automatically applied, and that's what's giving the grainy look in the image, and it's also very hard on processing. So if you don't have a beefed up computer or a modern computer with very strong specs, you might find that as you're playing back your footage, it'll be very choppy. So you want to turn off film grain, and if it's something you want to apply in the end, you can do so at the end when you're ready to export. So you want to disable it by clicking this to disable. Perfect. So now we can close that section. As you can see, just like Dehancer Film, the editing plugin for photos, there are all the same sections in Dehancer Pro for video. So you can make a whole ton of adjustments. For myself, like I said, I'm all about simple video editing and color grading. And so what I want to do is leave most of these sections off. And what I'm most interested in is just getting the film look. So I shot this in a studio. It was close to sunset. We were using natural light. And what I tend to like is Portra 800. So I'm going to select the film stock of Portra 800. And as you can see, it's looking really, really good. Now, I want to make a few more adjustments to it before I call this my final look. So what I'm going to do is to go to the first node, and this is where I'm going to go to make some adjustments. All right, so let's see here. What I might want to do is to bump up the shadows a little bit. Perfect. I'm going to turn down the highlights quite a bit. Perfect. Let's boost those shadows a little bit more. Okay. And while this is sunset, I do want to cool the image down a little bit because it's looking a little bit too warm. So 200 seems good. We're going to apply just a bit of tint to it. Perfect. And let's take a look at that so far. Awesome. So that's looking really good. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is to boost the shadows even more, just so that she can stand out because it's looking a little dark. But in addition to that, because we shot with a Pro Mist filter, we're getting a lot of haze, and so we want to add some contrast back into this image, and I'm going to do that by playing with the curves and moving it just a little bit more. Perfect. And so let's go back here, full screen, and take a look at this image. Awesome. This is looking amazing. And this was, again, just a few clicks in Dehancer Pro, a few adjustments to the first node, and we're pretty much there. The last thing I'm going to do is to do a bit of a color boost. So I want to add some color into this because you know I love color. Actually, let's turn it back just a little bit. Perfect. And once again, let's boost these shadows just a bit. The good thing about the Sony A7 IV is that it's got really great dynamic range, so it's able to maintain all the details in the highlights and the shadows. And let's take a look at that. Perfect. Oh, so let's go back. Let's take a look at this footage once again. And that is looking a lot like what I would want. Now that window is blown out a little bit, so maybe you might want to turn down the highlights here just a bit by taking that down just a little bit. And let's take a look. Perfect. As I promised, it was that simple. All you need to do is import your footage into DaVinci Resolve. What you want to do is then create separate nodes. On the final node, you want to add the Dehancer plugin to that final node. Select your camera, select whatever film emulation you'd like to use, then go back to your original node and make all your exposure and color adjustments there, and then you're good with your final look. There are many more dials that you can play with in Dehancer Pro to really get that film look you're looking for, but for myself, I'm just looking for the film emulation, and then I make all my adjustments in my primary node, and that's all I need to do. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. We've imported the footage. We're in the color tab. We're going to go to right click, add serial node. We're going to take Dehancer. We'll throw it on there. We're going to select our camera. And S-Log. Perfect. I am personally going to turn off film grain because I do not want film grain in my image here, so we're going to disable it. You know what? I normally don't, but I'm going to add some film compression because it'll control a bit of our highlights that are blown out over there. So let's add that there, and as you can see, we got some back. Let's do before, after. So really emulating film over here. I'm happy with that. And so now that I'm happy, let's make sure that we select the film we want. I want to go, let's say, you know what? Let's try something else other than Kodak. I would say CineStill. Okay, looking a little magenta, but we can make that adjustment later on. Okay, so let's go back to our original node. What we're going to do here is take a look at it. It's looking really good, but what I might want to do is bring down the highlights even further, just to get the detail in the sky back. Then we're going to boost our shadows. Awesome. We're going to increase our exposure just a little bit by moving the curve. We're going to add some contrast, because you know I love my contrast. And then we're going to do a bit of a color boost to just bring those gray colors out. This is looking awesome. Let's turn this back a little bit. Let's take a look at full screen. This is looking amazing. Okay, so we want to take a little bit of that magenta out. Perfect. We're going to boost our contrast a little bit more. And let's take a look at this now. Awesome. And that was under a minute. And so once again, this technique is very simple, and it can take your videos from basic to looking really professional, looking like film with Dehancer Pro. Okay, so now that I've showed you color grading, the last thing I want to show you is that you're able to take your color grade from one clip and easily copy it onto another clip for a faster workflow. So let's divide these clips, which we've already done. We're going to go back to the color tab. We're going to go to this tab. You're going to go to Command or Control C on your keyboard. Then you're going to click on your new clip and Control or Command V on your keyboard. And as you can see, it was automatically applied and copied over. So now we can play that footage and the grade is copied over. So my final thoughts on Dehancer Pro is similar to the photo software. While it's very, very easy to use, you do need some knowledge on how to edit, working with log footage in order to get the look that you're looking for. But for most pro consumers as well as professionals, you should find this very easy to use, and I can highly recommend it. Once again, I do want to let you know that Dehancer provided this plugin for free for me to try, but no money exchanged hands, and they don't get to see this video before it gets posted. If you do appreciate this video, please show your gratitude by giving this video a like and subscribing for more content like this, as well as if you're interested in purchasing this plugin, there will be a link below where you can purchase it, and there's a coupon code to get 10% off. Again, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it. Have yourself a wonderful day.